Welcome to the Warrior Word, the first and final word on Warrenton High School athletics. The Warrior Word is brought to you by Warrenton Kia and heard exclusively on 106.3 The Beach.
Welcome to the Warrior Word on 106.3 The Beach, your new home for the Warrior Word this school year. It's a weekly chat show with Robert Hopeful, the Warrenton High School Athletic Director, on all things Warrior sports. And it's brought to you each week by Warrenton Kia. And we've got some more Warriors football to talk about, and the volleyball team, and also the cross-country schedule. Robert's actually got a couple of his student-athletes in the studio again this week who talk about the volleyball season and the cross-country season. But we're going to get started here with the football team. Another tough loss, so they're 0-3 so far this season. But it seems like they're at least getting a little bit more competitive, losing this past week 18-0 to Neocani. So I guess tell us how that game played out, Robert.
You know, yeah, it was another tough week for the Warriors on the gridiron. Unfortunately, another shutout like it was in the first week against Napa, a situation where this game was very, very competitive heading into the fourth quarter at 6-0, really in the game. But unfortunately, we were unable to make the plays, both offensively and defensively, we needed to kind of, round it out and find the win. Talking with the coaching staff, there was a lot of blunders, in simple things, stepping on someone's foot, on a snap exchange, fumbles, turnovers. We only ended up with 2 turnovers, but the number of mistakes was very high, which is a little bit different than what we've had in weeks past. In the last couple weeks, we actually had kind of limited our mistakes and just weren't able to make plays. And this week, we kind of got ourselves into some good positions, but then made the mistakes when we couldn't afford to. It's a situation where we got to find a way to be able to play for the entirety of a football game. Outside of the second half against Vernonia, we haven't really been able to put it together. And it's been tough. The good news is that in our football schedule, the way it's set up in our league, there's only 3 league games. So you have 6 games to really figure it out, and we're only halfway through that kind of learning experience. And hopefully over the next 3 weeks, Coach Edwards and the rest of the staff can get with those guys, and they can figure out what they need to do in order to improve their performance on the field. Upcoming, we got Nestucca this Friday at home. Another good home game for us in a situation where another team that is played pretty similar to what we have schedule-wise and had kind of similar results as well. So it should be a pretty good gauge for if we can get some improvement this week. Really offensively is where we need to see that improvement. Gio Martinez is a sophomore quarterback. Really want to start seeing that growth from him. He's a 2-year starter. Started last year, the second half of the year as a freshman. Obviously starting again this year as a sophomore. Needs to kind of take that next step. We got a lot of young people playing key spots now. Trevor Secord's playing some running back. We have a couple seniors on the outside. Ray Calcabenez needs to really step up, have a big week. And we just need to find a way to score points, whatever that is, whether it's passing the ball, running the ball. Interception for a touchdown would be huge. We got to find a way to get in the end zone and kind of break that streak. We haven't scored in the first half all year, and I think if we can come out on Friday night and score early and put ourselves in a situation where we can play from maybe ahead and have a little bit of confidence, it's going to make a pretty big deal for us. Once again, like I said, that's this Friday at 7. Come out and support the Warriors. We'll have some promotional events going on as well. We've had 2 very, very exciting football games from the stats standpoint this year already, and it's going to be another one this Friday. During the show, we're going to be talking a little volleyball. Our volleyball team was at Vernonia last weekend in a tournament they participated in with some pretty good teams. Astoria was down there. We had Harrisburg down from near the Eugene area down there, and some good volleyball games to be talking about. We have Claire Bussard in the studio again, talking a little bit of Lady Warriors volleyball. Our cross-country team participated at Catlin Gable this past Monday. In a track meet, a cross-country meet, and we had some pretty good times, actually, considering that course is very challenging. We got Krista Morrow with us in the booth. We'll be talking with her a little bit about that meet and that course, and a couple other cross-country matters. But to kind of finish up this segment, I really want to just talk Warrior football and kind of talk a little bit more about what happened Friday and what's upcoming. We hit earlier on the fact that our offense has been struggling, obviously, getting shut out again last weekend. But, I got to give some credit to Coach Mike Larson and that defense. We did hold them to 6 points going into the fourth quarter. I think we're starting to see a lot of really, really good athletic play on that side of the ball. I really, thought that they did a much better job of executing whatever the defensive scheme may be, whether it's a blitz, whether it's a certain pass coverage, whether it's getting out on the outside and making people have to make plays one-on-one, and fortunately our defense was able to do so. Unfortunately, obviously, we got to find a way to cause some turnovers, and that's, I think, really going to be what's going to allow us to beat some of these teams coming up. Fortunately, like I said, Nestuck has struggled early on. They're not doing that well. Corbett's a bigger school than us. It's a 4A school. That's who we play the following week, but they're struggling right now as well. So we have a chance the next 2 weeks to kind of right the ship before a very, very challenging homecoming game against Blanchett Catholic, which is traditionally one of the toughest athletic schools in the state for our level. It's going to be a fun game to be at from the standpoint, we get to see some really, really good athletes. And then we transition right into league play, with a Portland Christian team that I think a lot of people are overlooking right now, but Portland Christian's been getting it done. They are only in their third or fourth year of having football again, and earlier this year they were able to pick up a couple wins against Neocani, who beat us last week. So that's a situation where that's going to be a tough game for us. Then we have Clatskanie and Rainier. Clatskanie is extremely beatable right now. They're not playing great football, and it's a situation where if we can find a way to beat Portland Christian and Clatskanie, we could win 2 games all year and make the state playoffs, which is crazy and also cool. It's the curse and the joy of our league. 2 years ago we were 6-0 heading into league. We lost 2 games by 1 point and missed the state playoffs. So it can get you both ways. And then we close out the year with Rainier on the 28th. So a month from now, we're going to be talking playoff football one way or another, and hopefully, we can be a part of that, part of playoff volleyball, part of hopefully sending some kids to some district cross country meets. The great thing about this season is how fast it goes, because you really just can dive in and really enjoy it while it's happening, and then you're sad to see it go. With that said, we'll be coming back with the second segment of the Warrior Word, talking a little bit of cross country, a little volleyball, and joined in the booth by Warrenton Kia to talk about them and their sponsorship of Warrenton Athletics.
We'll take a time out here on the Warrior Word and come back and talk some more Warrior sports. It's brought to you each week by Warrenton Kia, and also thanks to our participating sponsors, South Jetty Dining Room and Bar in Hammond and Seaside Factory Outlets. We've got some more Warriors football to talk about here, and also Greg from Warrenton Kia is in the studio to give us some news on the Student Athlete of the Week. It's on the Warrior Word on 106.3 The Beach. And welcome back to the Warrior Word on 106.3 The Beach, a weekly chat show with Robert Hopeful, the Warrenton High School Athletic Director, talking about all things Warriors fall sports right now, and is brought to you each week by Warrenton Kia. And we've got Greg from Warrenton Kia in the studio with us to talk about the latest from Warrenton Kia, and I think he's going to tell us all about the 2016 Kia Soul.
Thank you. Did you know the 2016 Kia Soul was awarded the J.D. Power Award for the highest-ranked compact multi-purpose vehicle and initial quality for the second year in a row? Head on down to Warrenton Kia. Whether it's a new Kia or a top-quality pre-owned vehicle, Kia's Car Corner have you covered. And Warrenton Kia would also like to announce a little program we're going to run for the Student Athlete of the Week. We've pledged to donate $50 per week to the Nike Outlet Store in honor of the Student Athlete of the Week. So go Warriors.
Nice.
Absolutely. It's
really
a fantastic thing Warrenton Kia is doing for us. I know that I'm excited about it, and I know the kids will be excited about it when they get a chance to have a little bit of extra jingle in their pocket and go down there and get some shoes or whatever they need for that sports season. This week, the Prep Athlete of the Week is from cross country, and I believe Greg's going to introduce that for us as well.
Yeah, Warrenton's Athlete of the Week is Luke Lillenwall.
Absolutely. Luke's a guy who's a two-sport athlete for us. He also swims for Seaside during the winter season in a co-op. He's a fantastic racer. He had a really, really good year for us in track last year, in the 800 especially. And he's been kind of a team leader for the cross-country program for a couple of years now. On the boys' side of things, he's definitely our fastest guy. Definitely a guy who I think has kind of made cross-country a legitimate sport at Warrenton High School. In the sense of, he's a really good athlete. And the fact that he's out there, he's working his tail off, he really takes some pride in it. And I think that his participation in our program the last few years has been a reason that our numbers have continued to climb, and his leadership has been invaluable. So I'm really, really excited for Luke to be named Prep Athlete of the Week by Warrenton Kia. And, I'm sure he'll be excited now that he knows that he'll be getting a little bit of a Nike gift card. So once again, thank you to Warrenton Kia. Their support of Warrenton Athletics is really, really just unmatched. They've supported this show for years. They also support us in just about every other way, whether it's individual program, whether it's a school donation, and we just can't thank them enough for all they do to give student athletes at Warrenton High School opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise. So it's much appreciated.
We're happy to do it.
This section, we're going to talk a little bit about cross country. Obviously, kind of a natural segue from talking about Luke and what he's done with the program. Do have Krista Morrill in the booth with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Catlin Gable track meet that took place this past Monday. I was speaking with you and Ellie this morning, and you guys said it was a kind of a tough course, Krista. What made this a different cross country experience than maybe some of the other courses you race?
Well, first of all, having a race in Portland is always tough. You're not running on paths as much, like in the woods. You're running a lot on pavement, which is really hard on the legs. But this one, it was pretty much 2 circles that you had to run, and there were a bunch of hills in it, which makes it very difficult and slow, just as a race in general. Adding hills to anything definitely makes your time much slower than normal.
Absolutely. I can't imagine that's like playing to me like a basketball game on different terrain. When they do things like district, state, do they try to always do flat places, or some years are you getting meets in places where you have kind of these hilly terrain?
Well, I don't know about state, but for districts, the last few years it's been in the same place. It's up in Warrenton, at a rec center area, and that one's mainly on pavement, and there's not too many hills. It's pretty flat, but it's a lot of circles, which gets kind of boring sometimes, but
it's like running that sport that they do at the end of the year called track, where it's all circles. No, that's great stuff. It's good to know. It's interesting to me. It's cross country is a sport that I didn't have a ton of experience at before I was in Warrenton. I was always playing football, basketball, baseball. So as I've grown in this role, I've got to see a lot more of this stuff, and it's a tough sport. It's so mentally demanding in the sense that you're really running against yourself every time because you're trying to improve your time. You're trying to be a little better than you were yesterday. And the cool thing about it to me is that you can gauge that growth really, really easily. You can look at the clock, and if you're faster today than you were yesterday, you're doing something right. And if you're slower today than you were yesterday, you're doing, you probably question yourself and like, what am I doing wrong? And that's really cool. You can't do that in a lot of sports. In basketball, there's no way to gauge that. In football, you can't really gauge that. But in sports like track and cross country, it's really, really cool that you can personally grow, and it's very apparent what's going on there. You've been running cross country with Luke for a couple years. We just named him the Athlete of the Week. Anything you want to add about Luke as far as what it's been like to have him as a teammate the last couple years?
He's a really good teammate to be with. He's always working really hard. He's not really outspoken, but just seeing how hard he works helps to make others work harder. And so I think that's really helped, like, getting other people to actually do what we should be doing and help us all to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke's a fantastic kid. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for 3 years now. He works really hard, and he's definitely a leader by example. A kid who does the right thing pretty much all the time, and that's contagious, especially the hard work part. With that said, let's just kind of run over the Catlin Gable results. For the boys' side, Luke finished first for the Warrenton team with the time of 20 minutes 45 seconds. Alan Martinez was second with a time of 21:23. Jared Lewis with a time of 21:39 was third. Axel Martin finished fourth for the Warriors, 23:19. And rounding out the boys' side of things for the cross-country team was Forrest Bigelow with a time of 23 minutes 20 seconds. The girls' side of things, we actually had 11 people finish, which has got to be a record for Warrenton girls cross-country. I feel like last year I was looking at the list, it was often 5 or 6. 11 is awesome. It just kind of shows kind of that growth in the program that we've had. At the top was Luke's younger sister, Kaisa, who's a freshman at 27 minutes 31 seconds. Alma Bolano second. Taylor Owens third. Ivy McCargish fourth. Saren Poshman's fifth, Madison Kadera sixth, Ellie Schinbeck, Krista Morrill, Rebecca Sprangler, Anna Schinbeck, and Trinity Womack rounding out it for the Warriors. That's all for the second segment of the Warrior Word. We appreciate you guys joining us this week. One more time, thanks to Warrenton Kia and their newfound Warrenton Prep Athlete of the Week with a little bit of love at the Nike store. It's so cool. We're excited about it. We'll be coming back for one final segment of the Warrior Word, talking some Warriors volleyball with Claire Bussert.
We'll take another time out here on the Warrior Word, brought to you each week by Warrenton Kia. And also thanks again to our additional participating sponsors, South Jetty Dining Room and Bar in Hammond and Seaside Factory Outlets. More Warriors fall sports next on the Warrior Word on 106.3 The Beach. And welcome back to the Warrior Word on 106.3 The Beach. Talking to Robert Hopeful, the Warrenton High School Athletic Director, on all things Warriors fall sports right now. And we've been talking some football and cross country so far, and now we want to get into the volleyball schedule a little bit. Robert, you have one of your volleyball players in studio again this week.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I love talking volleyball. It's definitely our most successful program over the last 3 or 4 years. Last year we were really just a hair from the state playoffs in a really, really tough game with OES down at OES in a district playoff championship type game. And this year we're trying to prepare ourselves to hopefully be in that kind of situation again. Volleyball team sitting at 6-3 right now, 2-1 in league, ranked number 14 in the state for our classification. Doing a lot of really, really good things. It's a situation where we have some young talent mixed with some old talent. We have some sophomores that are playing some huge roles in Claire Bussard, who's been in the booth the last couple weeks, as well as Morgan Blodgett. We have a lot of seniors as well who are doing some really good things. Sarah Lyons, Asia Lambert, Landry Meathy, Junior Michelle Arney's doing some really good things for us. Chloe McGranahan's playing some minutes. It's an exciting time right now for the Warriors, and I'm excited about all the things that they're doing on the court. We also have senior Katie Blodgett in the middle. So we got 4 seniors, 1 junior, and a couple sophomores. So kind of nice spread there, playing the big minutes. This past weekend we participated in the Vernonia tournament. I think we maybe a little bit underachieved in pool play especially. I think this is 2 tournaments in a row where maybe we had a little trouble getting started in the morning. And we were unfortunately kind of split with a couple teams and got beat 2-0 by Astoria in that pool play. What kind of happened early on at the tournament, Claire, and kind of kept us from maybe starting as well as we'd like?
Well, we played the first game of the day, and we're not a very good morning team. And we missed a lot of our serves just throughout the day, so that kind of made us split with the teams in pool play.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with some of those teams that we split with in pool play, like Vernonia, we were able to beat 2-0 later on, and I think which is a kind of more of a testament to who we are. Similar back to our tournament, we lost to Napa in pool play. And then we played them the next week and beat them 3-0 pretty easily. It's for some reason we don't wake up well. We don't wake up well. I teach a class with a bunch of these girls in the morning, and they don't wake up well then either. If it makes if it makes the volleyball fans feel any better. Fortunately, the way pool play works in Oregon, it doesn't count towards your record. So it put us in a situation where we could play into some bracket play in the games that count towards our record, where we were able to go 2-0 with a league game against Catlin Gable. In a non-league setting, obviously in a tournament, able to win 2-0. We actually play them tonight as we're recording this, but when you hear this live, it'll have already happened the night before because we record on a Tuesday. This airs on Wednesday. And then we play Vernonia in the Constellation Championship, and we're able to beat them 2-0. So, as far as tournament play goes, in bracket play, we're 3-1 on the year, which is good. What was the difference in those games? Was it just that, later in the day, a little bit more focused, or did you guys start to do some other things a little bit better as well?
I definitely think we were more focused in bracket play, but we started making a lot more of our serves, and our passing got a little better, but we were just a lot more focused and ready to play.
Yeah, and it's amazing. They say it all the time. I think it's never said enough. Sports are about 90% mental and focus and attitude, and when you're feeling pretty good and when you're maybe awake and when you guys start to click a little bit, good things start to happen. That big momentum that you hear about all the time when you're watching a March Madness game on TV and you don't know how a team's on a 22-0 run. It's the thing. If you're believing and you're feeling pretty good things are going to happen for you. This week's a huge volleyball week for us from a league perspective. It always blows my mind how fast volleyball season goes. We're at a situation now where today's the 20th of September. in less than a month, we'll be done with league play into district playoff play. So this week's a massive week to kind of position ourselves. I think Rainier's kind of established themselves as kind of the alpha of the league. They're very, very good. They have a player who's the real deal. Portland Christians kind of put themselves in a position where most people think they're probably second, but I think we're definitely in contention for that 2-3 area. And this week against Portland Adventist, we're going to kind of clarify that, I think, a little bit, because they're pretty good as well. What's your guys' mindset heading to this week with Catlin Gable tonight and Portland Adventist tomorrow? How was practice, this Monday, and do you guys feel like you're in pretty good shape to handle those games?
I think we realized how important these games are, so we're ready to win. But the practice, started kind of slow, but we knew that we only had one before both the games, so we started to work harder and make it a better practice.
Absolutely. With a lot of our schools in our league being private schools, some of them have some modifications to what days of the week they can play. Portland Adventist is one of those schools. So we actually play Tuesday at Catlin Gable, and then this Wednesday at home versus Portland Adventist. If you're around, you want to come out and support our Lady Warriors at 6 p.m., that's a massive game. They probably have one of the better middle blockers in the league and one of the better athletes in the league. Incredible basketball player as well. So if you want to see some pretty good athleticism from the PAA side, it's a fun game to watch. And I think our girls are ready for that match and ready to do well. But obviously we can't overlook Catlin Gable tonight. It's a team that just saw us play in the tournament, which is a good and bad thing. We know what they're going to do, but they also kind of have an idea for how we want to play. So that's going to make that game pretty interesting tonight as well. Big week in Warrior sports with the volleyball team having 2 huge league games, a chance to kind of establish themselves as a third place or second place kind of team, and that would put you in the state playoffs in volleyball, which would be really, really cool. And our football team obviously plays this versus Nestucca on Friday at home. Come out and support the Warriors on Wednesday and Friday this week. We'd love to have your support. Love to see you guys in the stands. With that said, thanks for joining us this week on the Warrior Word. A very exciting time for Warrior athletics, and we'll see you next week.
That's going to do it for Warrior Word this week, brought to you each week by Warrenton Kia. And thanks again to our additional participating sponsors, South Jetty Dining Room and Bar in Hammond and Seaside Factory Outlets. That'll do it for Warrior Sports this week. For Greg from Warrenton Kia and Robert Hopeful, the Warrenton High School Athletic Director, I'm Sean O'Connor saying you stay classy, Warrenton, and we'll meet you back here next Wednesday for more Warrior Word on 106.3 The Beach.
This has been the Warrior Word, the first and last word on Warrenton High School athletics. Brought to you by Warrenton Kia. Tune in Wednesdays at 6 p.m. for the Warrior Word, heard exclusively on 106.3 The Beach.